was 12, our school decided to take a field trip to one of the theme parks in our area. Those native to Texas may be familiar to it. The theme park was Six Flags Over Texas. All but one of my friends got permission and signatures from their parents to go. The trip would be a 2-day and 1-night excursion due to the small park being 3 hours away from our small town. My friends at the time were Josh, Kevin, and Matthew. All of us came from low-income homes in honestly a sketchy area of town, so this was the trip of our life up to that point. The first day at the park went to be expected. We rode the scariest coasters, ate a bunch of park snacks, and saw a couple of our classmates throw up after getting off the Superman. The next day we headed back to the park towards the latter end of the day due to seeing a couple popular sites around the Arlington area that morning. Since we were now familiar with the layout of the park, the four of us decided to hang out underneath the support structures of one of the tall coasters, since it was away from everyone, and Matthew pulled out a few cigarettes he bummed from his mom's purse. We lit up and talked about the plan for the evening and a couple of the girls we had crushes on. When we were nearly done with the smokes, we saw a man peering around the back of the concession stand, staring straight at us. He actually looked different than I would assume a creep to be. He looked middle-aged, clean-cut. The only thing out of place was he wore a park shirt uniform with slacks. Thinking he was trying to bust us for both being in a restricted area and lighting up, we all jumped up and ran into line for the coaster that's in total darkness. The waiting area was in a dark cave-like structure, and after making our way in line and nearing the coaster's entrance, we finally took a few deep breaths, and Kevin leaned against the rock wall while pulling out his inhaler. Matthew, John, and I started laughing at the close encounter with the park worker. After a couple of minutes of chit-chatting, the emergency exit door near Kevin opened up, and a man we immediately recognized as the lingering park worker leaned his body in and grabbed Kevin by the jacket, pulling him outside. The three of us screamed as we watched Kevin get carried away by the man. One of the ride's employees ran towards us after hearing the screams. We relayed what just happened, and the employee radioed in the situation. Within 2 minutes, the park went on lockdown, and security started combing through the park with a fine-tooth comb. We rejoined our party's group and breathlessly explained to the adults what happened to Kevin and the strange man we saw following us. Within 10 minutes, the parking lot security detained the man after finding him trying to shove a boy into his back seat. It was later revealed the man never worked for the park but had snuck into an employee rest area and snatched a uniform top. Needless to say, the trip got cut short and we all got sent home. I haven't seen Kevin since the incident. His parents pulled him out of school, and word got around that they placed him in a private school the town over. My name is Candy. My boyfriend Jason and I decided to spend our 1-year anniversary at Lagoon Amusement Park in Utah. We got there early and challenged ourselves to ride every roller coaster before nightfall. While waiting in line for one, I saw a girl waiting a few people behind us, hardcore staring at Jason. I nudged him and laughed while discreetly telling him about the girl who was eyeballing him. He rolled his eyes and took a quick glance at her, muttering, "No way," underneath his breath. The girl looked around our age, late 20s, but seemed a little socially awkward. She also wore very short shorts with an oversized shirt, and didn't appear to have anyone with her. Jason and I started talking about various things, and I quickly forgot about the girl. After we finished that coaster, we just had 2 rides left on our checklist, the skyscraper and the spider. We opted to ride the latter first, then finish the night with the skyscraper. On the way to the spider, I needed to stop into the restroom, so Jason held all of our stuff while waiting outside. As I emerged the bathroom, I was surprised to find the odd girl standing next to Jason, trying to ask him questions and see if he was single. Jason looked very uncomfortable, trying to inch his way away from her. The girl crossed the line this time, so I walked up and asked her to please leave us alone, and she was making us feel uncomfortable. The girl looked at me with such malice it momentarily caught me off guard. Then she called me a curse word and quickly walked off. Jason and I exchanged confused looks. He gave me a quick rundown of the evening, but we both decided not to let the girl ruin our evening. We waited about 15 minutes in line for the spider ride and got to the front, both looking forward to it but also a little sad the evening was about to come to an end. As we boarded the ride, we heard the attendant ask if there was a single passenger who wanted to fill the last empty seat behind us. To my utter dismay, Creeper Girl came winding through the small collection of people still waiting to come on and smirked at me as she took the seat behind mine. The coaster inched its way into the top, and the girl started singing behind us in an extremely demented voice, Tiptoe Through the Window song from the Insidious movie. Jason and I held hands, and I couldn't enjoy the ride anymore from wanting so badly to get away from this girl. As soon as the ride docked back into its station, Jason and I grabbed our belongings and raced towards the exit, hoping to lose her. We contemplated leaving the park right then and there, but didn't like the thought of just bailing before finishing our last ride, so we went ahead and headed for the skyscraper. As we waited in line, my brother called with some big news, meaning I needed to leave the line momentarily to talk with him where it was quiet. As we were on the phone, I heard a few gasp and look over to find Jason red and walking back through the line, grabbing my hand and pulling me towards the exit of the park. I had no idea what was going on, but followed beside him. After we got into our car and exited the parking lot, he explained to me what happened within the 2 minutes I stepped away. Apparently he was playing on his phone, waiting in line, when he hears his name called. He looks over to immediately find Psycho Girl trying to kiss him on the mouth. Out of automatic reflex, he decked the Psycho Girl and ran towards the exit, trying to get away from her. This was by far the weirdest experience we've had since we've been together. We are married going on 5 years now, and can laugh at the memory. Hopefully the girl got some psychiatric help and didn't assault any more men. Being late 90s, early 2000s kids, our absolute favorite place to go was Astroworld. We would ride the Texas Cyclone back to back from open to close. This story took place during the summer of 2001. My best friend Josh and I decided to spend the day at the theme park. Our parents dropped us off and told us to wait outside the park at 7 p.m. for them to pick us back up. We set off inside, trying to beat the lines to be the first to get on the ride. The day had been going great. It wasn't until around dusk that things took a turn. We got approached by an older man who came up smiling and asked if we had taken a ride on the brand new roller coaster. Apparently it was all indoors and themed. We said we hadn't even heard they were adding on, and he mentioned it was recent in the making, but offered to give us a ride on it to see if it would be fun for kids. We readily agreed and wound through the back end of the park with the older man. The further we went, the less and less people were around. He stopped in front of 2 rusty doors and held one open. Josh and I made our way inside the dark room and asked the man if he was able to turn on the lights. He said that wasn't necessary, and that's when I felt hands wrap a cloth around my face, and I didn't remember anything after. The experience seems surreal now, but I just remember waking up confused and looking around to see police lights and tape blocking off certain areas, as my mom talked to the officer close by while crying. She glanced over at me and saw me awake, so quickly came over, sitting beside and hugging me. I asked her what had happened, and she said one of the park employees happened to be walking from a distance and saw a random old man taking us into an unused storage room. She immediately radioed back up to find the man tying both of our unconscious bodies, preparing to transport us out. The cops were called, and they immediately arrested the man and contacted our parents. I look back on this situation now, and am thankful I had no recollection of the events that happened. Otherwise, I know I would be a lot more screwed up. I'm also thankful Josh and I made it out there safely. They ended up closing the park down a few years later in 2005.